Terra Luna ecosystem has many amazing altcoins, all with their own special value propositions. Anchor is a cornerstone of the Terra ecosystem, providing 19% stable yield on UST, the Terra USD stablecoin. It also unlocks borrowing capacity for yield-bearing proof-of-stake assets like Ether, Luna, and soon AVAX, Atom, and Sol. Apollo DAO is like a decentralized hedge fund, stacking premium assets in its reserve and redeploying them to generate yield for its holders. It also makes advanced DeFi farming a breeze, with single-click auto-compounded pools. Furthermore, Astroport is a decentralized exchange, having learned from its Ethereum predecessors. It has deep liquidity with little slippage and is already the second largest DEX by total value locked after only 2 months of operation. The newly launched Mars protocol is a key borrowing and lending platform, providing lines of credit to other protocols without the need for collateral, while also providing leveraged yield farming for its users, juicing up their returns. Despite all this and many other fantastic protocols, the one I'm most bullish on is, well, none of these. Before I continue, if you're new to the channel, welcome. Hi, I'm Gerry, host of the Lunar Orbit podcast, where I provide regular alpha and updates on all things Terra Luna. And if you enjoy this content, consider supporting the channel by smashing that like button, hitting subscribe, and hitting the notifications bell so you get all my videos in a timely fashion. Now for the main event. What if I told you there was a protocol whose downside was tightly correlated to the price of Luna, but its upside was many multiples more? If you're as bullish on Luna as I am, that sounds pretty darn good. What if I told you the protocol was generating non-inflationary yields, rewarding its stakers with 40+% APYs? Sounds pretty unbelievable, getting 40+% yield on Luna, the fastest growing crypto asset in history. If you've persisted with me this far, congratulations. Without any further delay, the Terra altcoin I'm most bullish on for 2022 is Prism. It has some incredible fundamentals that I've just touched on, but I cannot emphasize enough the potential for this protocol. Currently, its yield is tied indirectly to the price of Luna and how much Luna is staked on the platform. It has an incredible 78% of its circulating supply staked, and most of the rest providing liquidity in its pools. These liquidity pools provide value in 3 ways. They generate swap fees. They provide constant buy pressure to the Prism token, as every asset is paired with that token. And any yield-bearing asset that sits in those pools, 100% of that yield goes back to Prism stakers. In this video, I'll go through the details on what is and what will be the Prism protocol. Okay team, let's get into it. So a recap on Prism basics. It allows us to refract, which means to split apart our yield-bearing assets into 2 parts. The Y token, which represents the yield, and the P token, which represents the principal. And this allows users to speculate, trade, and farm on these new DeFi primitives. And other protocols are dreaming up all sorts of ways to be able to utilize these. So it opens up new opportunities for what people can do with their tokens. So moving right along, the current value capture mechanisms for Prism. 10% of all Y Luna staking rewards goes back to the protocol, and 100% of unstaked Y Luna rewards and C Luna rewards for that matter also go back to Prism. So if we have a quick look at the pools here, you can see C Luna here and Y Luna here. So all of the Y Luna and C Luna in these pools, 100% of the yield from both of those goes back to the governance stakers of Prism. So that's a pretty handy capture mechanism right away. And that's why the price of Prism is somewhat correlated to the price of Luna, because the more that Luna goes up, the greater the value that comes out of these rewards. And also, if Luna goes up, the more Prism is needed to balance that pool out. So if Luna goes up 10% in value against Prism, 10% more Prism needs to be market bought and put into that pool to keep it in balance. Also, any swaps that occur on any of these pools charges a 0.1% fee, which is actually less than most decentralized exchanges. So it's going to ensure that they have deep liquidity here and hopefully don't get any vampire attacks by other dexes. So all of these assets will live on Prism Swap. That's what they call this. And 0.1% of all of these trades also goes back to the governance stakers of Prism. So that's another fantastic value capture mechanism. So currently, the only asset that we can refract is Luna, and already the protocol is generating between 20 and 40% yields for stakers. On top of that, 78% of all Prism tokens are already staked. And the AMPS vault incentivizes long-term stakers to hold and stake their tokens, boosting their returns by 13% or more. Having a quick look at the AMPS pool. So there's two pools that generate rewards. There's the base pool, which is 80% of the rewards, and 20% goes towards the AMPS pool. So the idea is that people staking their AMPS get more of the rewards. And this incentivizes long-term holders, as I mentioned earlier, but it can also help to balance things out once these Prism token rewards start getting vested and possibly being dumped on the market. So all of your Prism tokens take 30 days to vest from the day that you farm them. So because this hasn't been running for 1 month yet, those tokens haven't essentially unlocked. So in about 3 weeks' time, there could be some sell pressure suddenly on Prism. But then with a governance vote, they could decide to make this pool bigger. And they will do that if the token starts dumping. So the farming flywheel, so because there is no sell pressure really from Prism, because those rewards haven't vested yet, over the first 30 days of the protocol, this could very well happen. More Luna could flow in over time as people see the returns that they can get. The protocol yields would go up as a result because there's more Luna staking rewards locked up and being returned to governance. X-Prism staking yields will increase due to this. And then the Prism price should appreciate because more and more Prism will be staked to get those rewards. And the more Prism that gets locked up, the more the yield goes up. So you can see how it's a positive feedback loop. But be careful, after the 30 days is up, the first X-Prism token rewards will start hitting the market and it could have some negative sell pressure. So what else is coming down the pipeline? This is what's getting me really excited. There's going to be limit orders through Prism Swap, meaning people can play the arbitrage game against all of these assets in these pools. So keep in mind, to get back to one Luna or one C Luna, you need one Y Luna token and one P Luna token to recombine them and redeem the underlying Luna token. So in theory, the price of one Y Luna and one P Luna should always equal the market price of Luna. Now, markets are very inefficient, so quite often that's not the case, and people can come and arbitrage away the difference. Same between Luna and C Luna. Just like we see with B Luna from Anchor and Luna. Quite often there's an arbitrage of up to 2% or more for basically swapping the same asset. So having limit orders where people can play the arbitrage game and get fills on their bids at certain prices that they deem worthy, that could be very bullish. There's not much in the way of limit orders available in the Terra ecosystem. So when any of these are triggered, a 0.3% fee is taken and returned to governance stakers. On top of this, the AMPS boost could also relate to the governance power of the protocol over time. Now, if you're familiar with the curve governance wars, and I've mentioned this in previous videos and podcasts before, this could be significant, and I'll come back to this a little bit later. And as I mentioned earlier, the AMPS pool could be boosted to help stabilize the price and align long-term incentives. On top of this, they're going to have a Coinhall partnership. So Coinhall, if you don't know, will be fast becoming a DEX aggregator. They have lots of great charts and feedback on all the prices. And they also have advanced features that you can unlock by staking to their delegator. And you can now use your P Luna to do that. So 1/7 of the P Luna held in your wallet counts towards the total Luna staked. So basically you need 7 P Luna in your wallet to equate to 1 Luna worth of staking. But it's a nice little feature to have, and it's a cool partnership to have. But what's really cool with it is the Coinhall is going to allow the Prism team to execute limit orders on all of the dexes of Terra via the Prism smart contracts. So if you want to do a limit order on Astroport, on Loop Finance, or on Terra Swap, you'll now be able to do it via Coinhall, but it's going to be triggering the actual smart contracts on Prism. So 0.3% of all those fees are going to flow back into Prism. So already you can start to see the amount of yield that this protocol is going to generate just off a single asset of Luna. So on top of the Coinhall partnership, there isn't a lot of utility for Luna currently. But the team at Prism are going to spin up their own money market via the Edge protocol, which is going to allow Luna to be staked as collateral to borrow other Prism assets, Y Luna, C Luna, Luna, Prism, and X Prism. And again, keep in mind, all of this Y Luna and all of this C Luna, all of the yield from those go back to the governance stakers of Prism. Luna is also over time going to have governance rights for Luna itself. And potentially, people might want to bribe you for your Luna if they want to sway governance votes within Terra. Furthermore, there's going to be more B assets. As I mentioned in the intro, these same assets are coming to Anchor soon enough. And I'm sure they'll appear on Prism in short order as well, so people can come and split their principal and their yield for all of these proof of stake assets. I think Atom in particular could be super popular once they have their shared security model live, and one Atom can stake against multiple blockchains at once, receiving proof of stake rewards from all of them. So you can imagine the yield a Y Atom token might represent. So Astroport's LPs will be able to be refracted. So you'll be able to split up your principal and your yield components of your LP positions. I think this is going to be super popular, especially when you have certain LPs that are generating an awful lot of rewards. You only have to look as far as the ANC UST LP on Astroport. It currently yields ANC rewards, Astroport rewards, and swap fees. As I mentioned earlier, these new primitives are opening up a whole new world of TeFi composability. So just some brief examples of things that could be in the pipeline. Y assets and yield generating tokens like X Prism could be great sources of collateral on Edge, Mars, Anchor, and Kinetic. And also, no doubt, we'll see 2x leverage tokens in Lavana. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the AMPS pool could be used to boost your governance power. Now, that's significant because you have retrograde money starting up in the next month or two, and they're going to try and pick up as many of the governance tokens of the Terra ecosystem as possible and max lock them for as long as possible to then trade a liquid token that new entrants can use to maximize their returns. Now, this is exactly what Convex does on Ethereum with Curve Finance, and you can see how successful they have been. Retrograde money essentially is going to create a black hole of max time-locked X Prism to allow AMPS boosted returns for new entrants. And finally, MultiChain Prism. Other chains' assets will end up on Prism, but Prism itself could end up directly on other chains, especially when you consider how easy it is to bridge assets across to other Cosmos chains via the IBC, but they've also hinted at EVM chains like Avalanche. So in summary, it's pretty clear to me that over time, as more and more assets end up in these swap pools paired with Prism, the Prism token itself will have positive buy pressure and should generate an awful lot of yield. Thanks very much for watching. If you enjoy this content, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and maybe consider watching one of my other videos.